This is the Shed End View podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Shed End View podcast with myself, Gareth McCullough.
And I'm Ally McKenzie.
And that man down there, all the way from the deepest, darkest Australia, is Mr. Dara Noonan. Dara, welcome.
Well, Dara.
How you going, guys?
Not too bad. How are you keeping?
Yeah, keeping well. Taking on now with this coronavirus.
I mean, one of the questions we ask everybody, all the guests that have been on our video podcasts, what have they been doing to sort of, during lockdown? How have they been sort of keeping themselves amused? I suppose you obviously probably have a bit of a different take on it, given the fact that you're down under. I mean, how's life been like for you over the last few weeks?
Yeah, it's been very quiet, to be honest. We have moved out to a new job out in regional Australia. So we are just isolating in the house at the minute by ourselves, and actually start work again tomorrow for the first time in a couple of weeks.
Right.
There's a bit of a problem with materials getting delivered from China, so it was all stopped for.
And what was the problem? What was the problem with getting stuff delivered from China?
I know that. I couldn't see what the problem was.
Is there something, obviously, then, I mean, over the past couple of weeks, obviously, when you said you haven't been working, what have you sort of been up to? Going by your Instagram, you appear to be doing a bit of fishing.
Yeah, I've turned into a pro fisher now.
There's more chance of that than pro footballer, is there?
You're right.
Dara, I'm slightly disgusted. You've come on here. I thought you were wearing a golf t-shirt at first, and then you sat up there and I saw that there's a Spurs badge. So what's going on here? Other side of the world. You're wearing your top here, spreading the message.
Best club in the world.
Ali's got a Chelsea top up behind him.
Just up behind there.
I'm trying to remain neutral here. This is a Nuri podcast.
I'll say nothing more about that.
Yeah, well, that's very true. I mean, I suppose, I've already spoken to you, obviously, for when I did that interview for the paper, obviously, just for our viewers here. I mean, what's life been like over the last got to a year that you've been out in Australia? How have you been getting on?
Yeah, I've had a great time. I was in Melbourne initially. I was loving life over there. And then to stay on for the further year, you have to do your regional work. So that's why I've came out I was in Balranald initially, and now I'm in Corowa, which is about 5 hours from Melbourne. Obviously, there's not really much going on around us here. So I'm looking forward to finishing this regional work off and then getting back to the city.
And what kind of work do you be doing when you're over there, Dara?
Well, I was working in construction in Melbourne, and then out here I'm working on solar farms. So the mechanical installation of solar panels. So,
from your perspective, how long until you actually, get back into the city? Like where have you a date for that or a time frame? I
don't have an exact date. I'd say it'll be probably in June sometime by the time I get my 88 days you have to do. So I've got about 35 left to do. So once I've done that, then we'll head back to Melbourne.
Never mind going back to Melbourne. My question is, when are you coming back to Newry and getting back in the centre half inside boiler?
Well, that all depends, I suppose. We'll see what way work shapes up when we get back to Melbourne. Could be home sooner than expected.
We've got a big lucrative sponsor for this podcast, so we could pay your flight back. That's no problem.
Oh, that sounds good, yeah. What about a sign-on fee?
Well, here, hold on, but let's pause a wee second, because this is the first time this lucrative sponsor for the podcast has been mentioned to me, which is kept in the loop. And if there's a lucrative sponsorship, it'll be coming me and Ali's way. I'll not be paying for it. But I suppose, have you been out? Have you been keeping in touch with football? Been keeping in touch with sort of what's going on back home in terms of Newry since you've been out in Australia?
Yeah, I always follow the results now every weekend. Obviously, we're a bit ahead on the time over here, so the games be on during the middle of the night, but always on Sunday morning I would check, see how the lads get on.
Are you getting to play any football over there?
I just joined a club, Nanny's old club, Middle Park, before I came out here. but obviously they haven't played any games with the Bears, so I'll probably get back to them now when I get back to Melbourne.
When you're saying there, the games, obviously, these games would take place in the middle of the night for you. I mean, so you check on a Sunday morning. Now, would that mean when you get up on the Sunday morning, or would you still be up from the night before?
Just depends what weekend it is.
Very honest answer, fair enough. I mean, I suppose looking back, at your time at Newry, we were talking just with myself and Ali before you come on. Just about the time you signed, obviously from Lurgan Celtic, and it was during our championship season. The sort of ironic thing was Newry's first season up in the championship, and the first game of the season, the way to Lurgan Celtic, you were playing centre back, and you obviously Lurgan Celtic beat Newry, which I would say, even though it was our first season up, it was probably a bit of a shock, to be quite frank. The first game of the season, we're like, oh, all right, this isn't going to go too well. But then your last game for Lurgan Celtic was, I think, on Boxing Day.
Different, wasn't it?
Was 5-0. I mean, did you? And I mean, I know you had you had a good time at Lurgan Celtic, and you enjoyed your time there. But did you sort of feel at that time, you probably knew you were coming in Newry anyway at that stage, but did you felt then I'm making the right move, because I'm coming from a team that's, with all due respect, that were sort of struggling, and then you're coming to a team that was challenging at the right end. I mean, I presume you felt it was the right move for you at that stage of your career.
Yeah, definitely. I had a good time at Lurgan Celtic. A lot of the lads there were smashing, but it sort of things went a bit sour at the end. Manager left, new manager took over, and then a lot of the players had also left. So I didn't think there was anything left for me there anymore. And when I met Darren and had a chat with him, then everything looked good, and I was glad to join you.
Yeah, because I suppose when you came in, Dara, you really hit the ground running. Got inside Boiler there for inside Boiler for centre half, and the two of you formed a really, really strong partnership from the start. That, I think, you coming in really pushed us up and got us into that championship playoff, and particularly give us the quality that we needed. How did you find, fitting into the club? And take it, you knew that some of the boys, but also your partnership with the likes of Boiler and the other boys at the back there.
Yeah, so I knew a couple of the boys before coming, but everyone's so easy to get on with at the club. There's a few rocket heads thrown in among the children, so you have to have thick skin. Yeah, no, playing beside Boiler is great. You don't have to do much. He does all the talking, and you sweep up from around him.
I mean, you obviously contributed. One of the things, actually, interestingly, Boiler spoke about in the last episode was that he felt he didn't score enough goals himself, particularly set pieces and stuff like that. And I mean, it was obviously one particular match, the Institute, it was the Institute game, wasn't it, that you scored twice late on. And I remember doing a video interview with you afterwards, and and you came out with the immortal line of feed the goat and he will score. I didn't think you realised it was going out on the reporters social media channels, but
I mean, got to stick over that.
Well put for it. But in terms of, I mean, that was a good. Do you feel like as a centre back, I suppose a modern day centre back, has to have that sort of string to their bow, that they have to need to be able to sort of contribute at the opposite end of the pitch as opposed to just defending? Yeah,
definitely. I also agree with Boiler. I don't probably score enough goals. Probably should get a few more a season than I do. But yeah, that is a part of the centre back nowadays, is chipping in with their maybe 4 or 5 goals a season at least.
And let's obviously the key part of that, and the key memory probably that people take from that game is because it's down in photographic history, and it's sort of and let's be honest, hold it up there again. That, like, look at the difference in the length of that index. The famous
Marvel, I like that one.
So basically, for people that don't know, now I know a bit of context is that Brendan Monaghan, our photographer, who everybody knows and loves and takes some great shots down at the club, and was sort of complaining that whenever we scored goals, we didn't celebrate, we didn't come his direction. And I think between yourself and Mark McCabe, he has made a point of doing it that day, and that came the famous long finger photo, which is, obviously you take the mic, the longest finger ever, but it was just, it was a great photo because everybody was in different states of sort of celebration. I mean, is that sort of, and there was grins on everybody's faces, that's sort of the memory that lives with me for that day, because it was such a pivotal result in the context of the season, but you could just see different players here, there and everywhere. I mean, do you look back? Do you ever look back in that photograph and go, that was a pretty good day?
Yeah, no, that was a great day. It was a very good result for us after I think we went behind in the game, and we finished really strong. But yeah, that picture is always in full memories.
That picture is kind of immortal for us, Gareth, because usually where we record the podcast is up in the viewing lounge. So I sit this side, Gareth and the guest will sit that side, but up behind me in this wall here would be that picture. And it's just up above the stairs now. So every time Gareth looks over at me, he sees the big famous finger pointing down at him.
Never forget.
All the way from us. But Dara, I was going to say, obviously the championship season was great, and the energy and the kind of momentum that we built. How much of a difference did you find when you stepped up to the Premiership then with that same team? Because I mean, largely our team didn't change between Championship to Premiership. So how did you find we adjusted to it, and did you find it any more difficult, or did you find it easier than you thought? How did you take it?
Yeah, obviously it is a big step up. It's okay playing a Premiership team maybe once or twice a year in the Cups, but when you're playing them every week, there is a big jump up in standard. There's fitness levels are a lot higher, and you just get punished for mistakes, and we learnt that the hard way, I felt. We done all right. I thought we were unlucky in a lot of games. We lost, I don't know how many games by one goal, but that's just the level you're playing at. We couldn't score at one end and we're conceding at the other, so it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I think the big game that summed that up was it the Linfield game where we conceded in the 92nd minute or something. It was an absolute killer blow for us, wasn't it? It was just like, it summed up our season, I think, in one game. So close, but then it was just snatched away at the end.
Yeah, I know. I think I was watching that game from the stands. It was a real sickener. It was a guy Caseman scored in it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was one of the few games we watched from the stand last season.
I know that. I was out for a bit, wasn't I?
Did you play in the Dungannon away game? That was the other game I was going to mention, that we're 1-0 up away from home. Carville scored, and we conceded 2 goals in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was killer.
No.
You weren't playing that game?
No.
That's convenient, isn't it?
That's why we conceded all these late goals.
There you go. Just a common denominator here. So that leads perfectly into my next question. When are you coming back, aside for Yuri? And I'm no beating about the bush here. Just tell us straight
up.
Tell us straight. If you had a message for Darren Mullen now, because you're well liked at the club, you're certainly more than capable of improving the squad. So if you had a message for a come and get me play to Darren Mullen, now is your platform.
Right, Darren, the flights aren't cheap home. I need a big sign on for you, fork out the cash, son.
Well, at least you're stating your case, probably pretty obvious. So
I love the way he said cash and not the checkbook as well.
Yeah.
Back pocket.
So your motivating
tax
isn't the love of the game now, it's just pure cold hard cash. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm a club player. Play for the badge.
Good man.
So in all seriousness, and I mean, I know I asked you this when we did the paper interview, in terms of sort of your footballing career back home, and I know you may stay out in Australia for another while, or you might be home and it's pretty much sort of up in the air at the moment. In terms of coming back, I mean, you're what, 25 now? 24?
25, yeah.
25.
So,
and you still sort of a good number of years to go yet to play Irish League football. I mean, what's your genuine, in all seriousness this time, your sort of aspiration in terms of when you do come back, personally, like what sort of level are you looking to play at? and what do you envisage sort of the next sort of 4 or 5 years where you should be sort of at the peak of your footballing career? What do you see happening?
Yeah, well, obviously I want to play Irish League when I get back home. I think Newry's in a good position now. We've got a good, strong squad. It's signed really well this year, I thought, and well, don't know what's happening with the league now, but next year they'll definitely have to be one of the favourites to go back up. If the league gets started again. But yeah, no, I want to come home and play Irish League, and hopefully Newry will be back up there when I get home.
There you go. Very diplomatic answer. Like the way you dealt that. I mean, from a personal level, I suppose being out in Australia and being thousands of miles away from home and new experiences and stuff like that. Do you feel you sort of, have you changed? Have you developed? I don't want to say matured, because then that sort of that maybe hints you're immature, and that's not from being said. You know what I mean? But do you feel like you've sort of you've developed sort of as a person? Since going out there, and you obviously learn new things that you can take back when you come back home again.
Yeah, well, it's the first time living away from home properly. I was down in Belfast, obviously, at university, but it's not the same. You're at the other side of the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good. I've really enjoyed my time here, as I said, and learned a few valuable life lessons along the way.
I'll tell you what, you learn a few lessons when you're working at 5 a.m. out laying down solar panels. That'll teach you a few matters.
These men keeping me up here.
Just on that note, so we've had this scheduled just for the years. We've had this scheduled for the last sort of 4 or 5 days or so, that it's midday on the Sunday here in Newry. And what time are you around there? So it's about after 8. It's about 25 to 9 over there. Is that right?
No, yeah. 20 to 10.
20 to 10. So they're 9 hours ahead. So whenever we sent Dara all the details to log in the video call, he goes, well, he used an expletive, which we'll not mention. He says, I'm about to go to sleep here, which is quite disappointing, given he's making all these bold statements about wanting to come back and play for Newry, and he doesn't want to speak to the podcast. Finally got him. If you're looking a bit tired, more tired than normal, that's the reason why, man. Yeah.
And the first guest that we've had to pay Paul an appearance fee to as well.
So that you can knock that off your signing on fee when you come back. Our contribution. I mean, look at it. I suppose if you could pick from the Premiership season, and I suppose firstly, too, is probably a 2-part question. You're obviously with Newry for the full Premiership season, and then the second half of the Championship season when we got promoted. If you could pick one sort of key moment or one highlight, and I appreciate probably getting promoted the night at Carrick would be well up there, but even a moment in a match or whatever that sort of stands out for you that was key or pivotal in the success of the club, could you personally, what would it be?
I think my favourite match in the Premiership season was maybe the one away to Coleraine, where we won. It was on BBC. Yeah, we performed really well that night, and deserved. It was a good battling performance, and we done well to come away with the 3 points.
Was the particular highlight of that game whenever did you watch it back whenever you get home, or did you watch it back after on BBC?
No, I didn't actually get a chance to watch it back.
So did you not have the watch in all their glory the live TV interviews with Mark McCabe and Mark Hughes afterwards?
No, I seen part of the interview live. That was enough for me.
Unbelievable.
Had a good laugh at it.
Yeah, which
brilliant.
You've obviously got McCabe just explaining in great depth about how his goal came around. My teammate Dale passed it to me, and then I volleyed on people's head and going, "I saw that, Mark." Thanks.
Dara, just on that as well, TV appearances. You were the only Newry City FC player to score live on Sky Sports.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Do you remember that night down at Cliftonville?
Yeah,
1-0 up.
Well, it wasn't long going south after that.
Yeah, you scored after, what was it, like 4 or 5 minutes, really early, and we couldn't believe it. We were like, oh, we're in party land here. And then next time we get home 3-1. But I just want to ask you a quick question there on obviously the Carrick games were probably highlights, but for fans being 2-0 down at Carrick, at home, to Carrick, after 10, 12 minutes, we were all panicking. We thought, oh, we've just completely blown this here. Like, what were you thinking as a player on the pitch? I just can't put myself onto the pitch at that time. Think of the pressure that must have been on you. The whole town came out to watch. What was that like for you guys?
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure on everyone's shoulders that night. Although they were the Premiership team, a lot of people actually had fancied us to beat them, and we went 2-0 down. Everyone knew we had a strong dressing room. Everyone had confidence in each other, so it wasn't really a problem when we did go 2-0 down. And we got right back in the game before half time, and should have actually buried the tie in the first leg. We won't mention any names about missed penalties, but
horrible.
But I always found that was definitely that was definitely the highlight, I think, of the season. Obviously, because it was the playoff and there's that buzz about it. But going 2-0 down just kind of summed up Newry's comeback, I think, from the brink of where they were a few years before, and to go 2-0 down and then to actually win it quite comfortably over the 2 legs in the end. That was some feeling down at Carrick that night with all the fans there. That must have been amazing as a player on the pitch.
Oh yeah, it was class that night. That's, I think, my favourite moment in a football jersey that night. Yeah, some of the fans that have been there, they're supported Newry their whole lives. It was just class to see them really enjoying the night.
And was the highlight of your night not so much getting promoted, but seeing Kevy Ruddy run up and down with that massive flag?
Oh yeah, he's not wise.
That was my personal highlight.
Yeah, oh, that was brilliant. There's a cracking photo of him.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's I was going to say something smart there, but I'll go down and recorded history, so I just can't. I mean, looking at it, going over it would have been easy for you to probably stay and go, right, we're going to give us another crack in the championship and stay at Newry. Obviously, you decided to go to Australia. Was that an easy decision to make? It was a decision that was already sort of in the pipeline, or was it made easier, I suppose, by the relegation?
It was a difficult enough decision. I don't think it would have made a difference at the end of the day. I wanted to get away now when I'm young, because in a couple of years I know that I wouldn't have ever went to Australia, and I'm glad that I have made the decision to come here. But yeah, it might have made a bit of a difference had we stayed up, but I had already made my mind up at the end of the season. So,
well, just to sort of the last sort of 10 minutes or so, 5 or 10 minutes of the podcast, we've been doing a thing which you probably heard, asking our guests to pick their top 5 players. Now, it's not just your top 5 players as you'd have in your 5-a-side team. There's a theory behind this. Just so before we start, we'll ask some questions about, but you can pick yourself in any of these if you want. Basically like Kevin McArdle did. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't strike Kevin as well. Kevin wouldn't strike me as one of the more arrogant ones, but there you go. He picked himself. He picked himself as the most skillful. So, which is fair enough. But so we'll ask these one about. I'll start. So get an easy one to start with. And these are obviously, the current players that were obviously signed after you left. I'm sure unless you know them. Suppose you can't really pick them, but players that you've played alongside for Newry, who is the most skillful player, or who is or was the most skillful player that you played with at Newry? Apart from yourself.
Most skilled. I know Twinkle Toes here. Probably Rambo. Yeah, Rambo was probably the most skillful when I was there. Although Tucker's got great feet. Yeah, between those two, I'll give it to Rambo.
Is Tucker probably? Tucker's been mentioned a couple of times for this one, and is it probably people underappreciate sort of the ability Tucker has? I mean, Tucker run all day, he'll put in tackles, and he'll get up and down the pitch, and he can drag a team up. And his own, even though he is really quiet, but in terms of football and ability, he's probably underrated in that regard.
Yeah, Tucker's definitely the most underrated player on the team. He's consistent every week and he's brilliant. You can fire the ball into him under pressure and he never loses it.
You know what, Gareth? I just have a quick story about Tucker. When I played Caribbean when I was about 17, I was playing Caribbean League game with Tucker.
When I played Caribbean.
No, with Tucker, right? And Tucker joined our team. Now, like, we were all just hopeless. And Tucker joined. We were like the Renford rejects. Tucker joins the team, and we were just like, "Who is this guy?" He was unbelievable. So we're playing out in Drumcliffstone one day, and Tucker scores a hat trick. And I think it was a perfect hat trick, actually. The first one was a header, the second was a left foot, and the third was a dinger from about 34 yards, whatever, hammered it top corner. And I was like, this guy is phenomenal. I just never understood. He hasn't scored the goals for Newry, but he is capable of it. But he seems to play that real central role and controls the game, doesn't he? But he's so skillful, like one of the most underrated players you'll ever see.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know about the goals though. I've never seen him have a shot on target. Never mind.
I swear though, I'll never forget that hat trick. Dara, who would have been given the best pep talks in Newry? So, like from your time that you were there.
God.
It doesn't need to be a manager now. It's obviously to be a player.
Oh, definitely Jervy. Jervy comes out with some the same 2 or 3 sentences every day before a match. Get all the boys buzzing. Throw in the feet. Throw in the feet. Don't lose it.
I was going to say, can any of these be said on air? Because it was, remember when we did the film and there was a certain speech that Jervis gave before a game, and so we say it was expletive ridden. I think is probably the best.
It was left with a cutting room floor.
Okay, so who's Mr. Pass the Buck? So who doesn't take responsibility for any of their mistakes or blames other people? Or either the boys you play.
Easy.
Straight in.
So give us a couple of examples of how Husey is Mr. Pass the Buck.
Oh, Husey can never accept he's wrong. Always giving up. He's a good small man syndrome.
Funny, he seems to be quite popular for that choice. So we've got a couple of more. I'll let you have the next one.
Okay, Dara, I'm going to mix this one up here now. This is the brainiest player in the team, but everybody said Engine. So we understand that Engine might be the smartest player, but give us someone who isn't Engine who would be the next smartest player and why. That might have just cut your choices down to a very limited few.
Those are 2 or 3 maybe, and that's it. I'd say Boiler.
Who was it?
John. Boiler.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No problem. Right, and now the graphic I'm looking at of who Kevin McCardle selected for this next one, I have a feeling you might select the same person again. I'll tell you it was afterwards. Who's had the best excuse for missing training? Again, you can include yourself in this.
Oh God, been a few bad ones. Can't think of anything that's springing to mind. Walker and Carville have had a few over the over the season and a half I was there. Carville stuck past Chippy. The 2 of them stuck in past Chippy eating pasties.
And they missed training because of that.
Well, they were very late to training.
Well, the one that Kevin McCardle picked Conor McCall for one of them. I thought I'm surprised McCall hasn't got a mention yet. You know, somewhere along the line for something we're doing something daft or something out of the ordinary.
Wait, what was his excuse?
I can't remember what it was actually.
It was Kevin says to him, he didn't turn up for a game, and Kevin says, "Where were you on Saturday?" And he says, "What day was that?"
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I think that was the response we had at the time.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that probably is short and sweet this week, and it's great to hear from you, Dara, and good to see you keeping well over in Australia. If you want to, if anybody or any of the supporters, I'm sure that'll be watching, the thousands that we have watching our podcast every week. I'm sure they'll want to hear from you and want to hear a wee message. If you want to sort of direct something towards the Newry faithful that they love you and your long fingers.
No, just lads, all great bunch of fellas, and keep rooting for the team through thick and thin.
And you said earlier on, we're going to see you back in a Newry jersey very soon, so we're going to hold you to that.
Yeah, we'll see. See what the future holds.
Well, listen, look after yourself. We'll speak again soon, hopefully in person in the very near future, if possible. Take care.
Cheers, Dara. Take care.
All the best. Thank you.